Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. My name's Trevor, and it's time to make our NFL player prop picks for the Super Wildcard Weekend, hosted by, of course, PineSports.com. Pine Sports was used to go ahead and source all of these picks today and do all of the data analysis you'll be seeing in the next few minutes. Of course, we have two games on the docket for this Saturday. It's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the division champion Cincinnati Bengals, and then it's going to be a good old AFC East showdown in a cold Buffalo as the Patriots go on to take on the Bills. I have three picks for you for those two games. Let's go ahead and get into it. So for our first pick, we're going to go ahead and go with Derek Carr over 23.5 completions at minus 120. As you see on screen, the robot likes the over with a projected over win rate around 78.5%. He has been able to hit this in 8 out of the past 11 games, only hitting under in 3 of those games. One of those was against Denver, which has one of the best pass defenses in the league, but one of them was against Cleveland as well. But you notice overall, he has the ability to go ahead and hit 30 completions game, over 30, well over 25 in 3 more instances. So we do have a little bit of cushion, and why I'm not super worried about that Cincinnati game where he only had 19 completions was because that was in a 32-13 blowout when the Raiders were really at the peak of their off-field issues. Since then, they've gone on that 4-game win streak to get them into the playoffs, and they're +5 dogs in this one, and I actually like the Raiders in that line. I know that we're not doing lines, but it's relevant. I think this is going to be a really close game. You've seen in the past 4 games that the Raiders have won by a combined 12 points, 3 points on average, and have played upset against the Colts and the Chargers specifically, both teams that I think many of us would have thought would have gone to the playoffs before them. And as we see our Pine Predict tool, of course, you can get free access to this by signing up for that account at pine-sports.com. It likes the over to go ahead and hit about 73% of the time. So we're thinking of a pretty high scoring game, and in games that have scored at least 45 points this season, teams rush on average 22 plays against the Bengals while passing over 37 times. Now, if we go ahead and apply that to Derek Carr, we'll see his completion percentages since week 8. His floor is at about 60%. Now, if we do the 37 times per game from the Bengals and 60% low floor completion from Derek Carr, we are right at 22.5 completions. So that's a worst case scenario and only 1 point or 1 completion below our over under. I think Derek Carr is already going to have about 27 completions in this game. I think this is a great pick for what should be a high scoring game in Cincinnati. So another player that might benefit from a high scoring game is Bengals slot receiver Tyler Boyd. So that's why we're picking the over 41.5 yards and minus 115 for him in this game. Of course, it would be the chic choice to go ahead and choose Ja'Marr Chase over 69.5 yards at the same odds. And I think that is a great pick. It's actually gone down since I was first looking at these lines, which I think is odd, but I think you can get a little bit more of a guarantee with Boyd in this game, especially with how the Raiders play slot receivers. We'll get to that in just a second. Of course, we'll look at the prop projection tool and we see that the robot kind of likes the over. He's hit over in 6 of the past 10 games, over 41.5. We're excluding that week 18 matchup against the Browns because Joe Burrow did not play that game. But you see, apart from Kansas City, he had a streak of 5 games with at least 50 yards. 3 of those games actually came at above 80 yards. And another huge thing is against Las Vegas earlier in the year, he was able to reel in 49 yards. Now, another reason why I like to go ahead and pick this is because overall you see a pie chart on your screen. Very naturally, the biggest slice of that pie chart is going to be Ja'Marr Chase. Had an absolutely amazing year, 100% deserves to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Next up, you see T. Higgins, very predictably, and then you see Tyler Boyd at 17.4%. But you notice less than 4% separates him from Ja'Marr Chase, and I thought that was actually going to be a lot bigger of a disparity. So that shows that he's getting the receptions at almost the same rate as these guys, maybe just 1 or 2 less a game. And that was a lot higher than I had expected before I went ahead and built this chart over on Pine. Now, you might say that the Raiders have a really good pass defense, and you would be so correct because the Raiders have allowed the 6th fewest passing yards per game in the league this season. So why are we choosing an over passing yards? Because we're doing some next gen stats right now. This is for every single receiver, but against slot receivers specifically, the Raiders allowed the 10th most receiving yards over the course of the entire season in the NFL. They're able to shut down opposing team 1 and 2 wide receivers, but against the slot receiver, they tend to give up a little bit more. That's why I think we can go ahead and guarantee Tyler Boyd over 41.5 yards in tomorrow's playoff game. So everybody get your coats for the last pick because it's going to be a cold game in Buffalo. We are talking single digit temperatures with a wind chill setting it at minus 10 to 15, winds up to 10 miles per hour. And what does that mean? It means we're going to get a lot of running from the New England Patriots. We saw it on that Monday night game a handful of weeks ago. So who's going to benefit from that? Is it going to be Damian Harris? He's probably going to get his fair amount of touches, but he was limited in practice this week with a hamstring injury that has been plaguing him for the past month. Fully expect him to suit up and fully expect him to also hit his over of about 50 some odd yards, but we're choosing Rhamondre Stevenson over 38.5 yards and minus 120. That's what I locked it in at. I've seen it at 39.5, at minus 130. So it's been fluctuating a lot. See where you can go ahead and get the best odds. As we see, after his week 9 breakout game, he has been able to put up 62 yards, at least 40 yards in all but one game, including 2 100-yard games. He's hit the over of 39.5 in 6 games against Buffalo. He's projected to go ahead and have about 56 yards on the ground. And this is actually a very interesting statistic because this shows you a little bit of the nuance you can get with Pine. So the Bills allow about 4.04 yards per carry. That's the 8th best in the league. Pretty awesome. They also allow just 110 yards per game rushing. That's good for 14th best in the league. They are a top half defense in the league. However, against the Patriots, they allow on average 5.17 yards per carry and 185.5 yards. If you took those in isolation and compared them to every other team in the league, it is by far the worst in the league. 40 yards and about 0.3 yards per carry. So I think with all of that, you can go ahead and consider the fact that Rhamondre Stevenson has only missed this, and since week 9 has only missed this total in 2 games by a combined 9 yards. And in that week 18 game against the Dolphins that you see on screen right now, he was limited due to a head injury, but that head injury was not on the injury report this list, so we should be completely fine moving forward. So that's why I feel very confident in Rhamondre Stevenson over 38.5 yards this game. So those are going to be my 3 picks for Saturday's games. Of course, I want to know how you're going to be playing Saturday's action. So go ahead and drop your prop locks down in the comments. If you want to go ahead and use all of the features and tools that I use to make my picks, go ahead and sign up for a free account over at pine-sports.com, the world's most advanced sports data analytics platform. You'll also get access to Pine Predict, the world's first AI model that allows you to enter your own stats and predict the winner, the spread, and over-under results for all 4 major North American sports. Links for everything is down in the description. We'll be back to cover Sunday's slate of action as well. So I will see you then. Best of luck and deuces.